There's been a lot of spin-off Pokemon games over the years. Pokemon Ranger, Snap, Pinball, Rumble, it's practically an endless amount at this point. The Pokemon Mystery Dungeon series was one I dabbled in but never really fully dove into up until now with Pokemon Mystery Dungeon Rescue Team DX. This 2020 remake of the early 2000s Game Boy Advance title slaps on a new coat of paint, adds some quality of life improvements, and leaves some previous criticisms untouched. The story opens up with arguably one of the more interesting premises to come out of a Pokemon game. You wake up in the body of a Pokemon, a total of 16 plausible options. The Pokemon you wake up in is completely determined via a personality test that changes with each playthrough. While some questions made more sense than others, I still had a great time with it, and I found myself actively trying to get my friends to take the quiz and see what they receive, but I digress. Upon waking up as a Pokemon, we meet up with our partner Pokemon that quickly wrangles us up into a rescue team. Essentially, a team of Pokemon looking to help other Pokemon in need. That secondary premise comes to the forefront and stays at center stage for most of the adventure, as the revelation of why we became a Pokemon slowly reveals itself over time. That slow revelation is a lovely treat that leaves a heartfelt impact by the end of it. Remarkably, it's the cast of characters that make its story. Where the mainline Pokemon games have stumbled on telling a riveting story, Mystery Dungeon soars, though not without stumbling on its own roguelike gameplay. With that said, I'd be remiss if I didn't say its story left me in my feelings more than any other Pokemon games have done in a while. While it has the Pokemon name, Pokemon Mystery Dungeon plays completely different from its mainline games. You're a Pokemon who, now along with their partner and rescue team, go on dungeon crawling adventures. Whether it's a Pokemon that's been knocked out or is trapped inside of a dungeon thanks to some wild earthquake, someone is in need of help and now it's up to you to save them. These dungeons vary in location from the grassy forest, rocky mountaintops to the high cloud towers. Like in other Pokemon games, these different terrains offer different Pokemon encounters, but sadly that doesn't really include the dungeon layouts that much. These dungeons follow a roguelike design of being randomly generated. While some other games in the genre like Binding of Isaac or Dead Cells use the genre in combination with so many other varied gameplay elements, Mystery Dungeon comes off as more repetitive than I would have liked. The new locations sure look nice, but rarely did I find myself doing something different from the last one over my slightly over 20-hour campaign. Luckily, these dungeons can be completed rather quickly, with some floors spawning the next set of stairs right next to me. However, that's yet to address the combat. Dungeons follow a tile-based system that play along with the combat mechanics. While yes, you still have 4 moves per Pokemon in a turn-based system, they follow a grid system almost like Fire Emblem. Each turn you get the option to do an action, whether that's moving to a different tile or launch an attack. Attacks also vary in how they work. Some moves might attack the tile directly in front of you, while another might do a whole row. In that sense, the grid system plays a major role in creating a more fleshed out combat system that takes note of your location on the map. While it adds a layer of strategy, there has been some quality of life improvements that simplify the combat. For example, pressing the A button now automatically chooses the best attack for the situation, at least according to what the game thinks. You do still have the option to manually choose an attack, and now being able to have 8 members in your rescue team still means you have to manage other elements during battles. One annoying quirk that didn't really spring up until I started doing boss battles was the lack of a health bar. While I can see my own squad's stats, I can't see the health of an enemy. While in dungeons, most of the enemies have a similar HP gauge, so that never became much of an issue. That completely changes when you start reaching the boss battles that deal way more damage and take way more to defeat. The lack of a health bar in these more tense situations adds to the frustration of occasionally wasting items in battle because you're not sure how close you are to winning. This remake's biggest addition or revamp is the completely changed visuals from its original Game Boy Advance release. Back then we were presented with the sprite layout, while now on Nintendo Switch, everything has been completely redone with a watercolor look and 3D models. The new art style looks beautiful, whether it's on the portable display or scaled up on TV. In true Nintendo fashion, the artwork tries to remedy the lower resolution when playing in dock mode, and it's quite apparent. It doesn't look ugly by any means, but it does look fuzzy. It's a bit of a conundrum because this isn't a demanding game by any means, but for some reason, the gameplay is locked to 30 frames per second and the resolution in dock mode looks like it runs at 720p outside of the UI elements being in full 1080. Despite being in 3D, some elements like the inside of your home early on in the game have this flat 2D look to them that can come off as a bit lazy looking. It reminds me of the early N64 days of 2D sprites being manipulated to look 3D. While the art style doesn't help keep it looking nice, it still is a somewhat noticeable eyesore at times. Mystery Dungeon's music simply doesn't disappoint. The Pokemon Square theme is a favorite of mine with a whimsical and delightful tune that made turning on the game a bright experience. Boss battle themes were also well done, coming off as more ominous to the dungeon-specific tracks that were good, though because of the repetitive nature of their gameplay, wore off their charm rather quickly. With all that said, some of the songs do come ripped from the originals, and I would have loved to see a new rendition of some of them, perhaps with some more instruments since we're not limited to just the sounds that the Game Boy Advance can produce anymore. Pokemon Mystery Dungeon Rescue Team DX is a great remake of an okay Pokemon game. It's a game with arguably one of the better stories in the Pokemon series, but is also bungled down by repetitive dungeon crawling. Its gameplay, though much more streamlined now, doesn't match the quality of its writing. Its core mechanic, dungeon crawling and combat, have been improved but still come off as monotonous over the 20 plus hours of me playing. Sure, there's some great and challenging post-game content there, but not before you have to finish the repetitive initial playthrough. If you were a fan of the originals, then you're sure to love this one, but for me who has no emotional or nostalgic attachment to the originals, I think there's better dungeon crawling games worth picking up from Nintendo, and others on the platform.